Alice Butler, this is Daniel Fitzpatrick, and we're co-directors of aemi, and we're delighted to host today's event. And we'll be starting, handing over in a minute to Fionnuala Sweeney, who will be giving a presentation on all of the various ways that the Arts Council supports film artists through film specifically. And then after that, Daniel and I will talk a little bit about aemi and what we do and how we support the work that you're making.
Between those two, we'll have plenty of time for questions. If you do have questions, just wait till the end of the first presentation. We'll have plenty of time there, and we'll get through everything. That's often the sort of most vital part of that, is giving you all an opportunity to ask any questions you might have. So just, make a note of them, save them, and then in between, after Fionuala's presentation, we'll take any questions you might have.
The only other thing, just what I think of it, is we're audio recording today, just to make you all aware. It's just so that people who aren't able to make it today for any number of reasons or aren't based in Dublin can access all of this information too. So just so you're aware of that in the flow of conversation, and if for whatever reason afterwards you don't want your question in the recording, just let myself, Daniel, or Anne know. And Anne Hendrick also works with us at aemi, so just to let you know, have an idea of who you all are. That sometimes helps. That's probably it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Fionnuala Sweeney. I'm Head of Film and Architecture at the Arts Council, and I'm here today with my colleagues Aoife Moynihan, Andy McSharry from the film team, and also Moretta Dillon, our film advisor, who's at the back of the room and might give a wave there. Jen Lawless from our communications team is here also. You might see her taking some photographs of you all here today. Before I begin, I'd just like to thank aemi and Alice and Daniel and Anne for all their help in setting this up today. This is an annual event, an annual clinic that we do with aemi to talk to all of you and give you information about the Arts Council and its role in film. Today, I'm going to be focusing I'll give you a very brief overview of the Arts Council in film, but I'm really going to focus on the area that's of interest to you, and that's our support for film artists. And I'm not going to go in so much about our funding of organisations like the Irish Film Institute, Access Cinema, Dublin International Film Festival, but really focus on artists. As Daniel and Alice said, I'll just run through things quickly to give you that overview and the opportunities that we have for film artists in 2026. And then after that, we'll take questions from you, because I think that's the most valuable part of today, is enabling, giving you an opportunity to ask questions directly, and those questions will be of benefit to other people in the room as well. Is that okay? And so we might kick off then. I think it's important to say at the outset, the Arts Council supports film as an art form. We are central to the provision of a national infrastructure for film culture in Ireland. So we support film artists and provide for and develop public engagement with cinema. So it's in this way that we serve both artists and the public. Our role in film is a discrete one, and it's distinct to the role of Screen Ireland, but complementary to it. Screen Ireland is responsible, as you know, for developing the Irish film industry. And our work also complements the roles of RTE, TG Cahir, the BAI, or now actually Commission Nama, in the area of television production, and it also aligns with the Creative Ireland programme in the department. We have a film policy in place, and that flows from the Arts Council's 10-year strategy, Making Great Art Work. And this reaffirms and prioritises our commitment to film artists and to public engagement in the area of film. All of our activities, including our film awards and grants, are informed by our quality, diversity and inclusion policy, and our fair play, fair practice policy, which is focused on artists and arts workers and ensuring that they are supported and looked after in terms of payment. This year, the Arts Council is developing a new strategy. So our current strategy, Making Great Art work remains in place until that strategy is published, which would be for next year. I think it's going to go from 27 to 31. So you will hear probably during the course of the year that we're developing that and doing consultation around that. So just to say that as well. So in terms of film artists, we offer a range of film awards, and these are designed to provide film artists with an opportunity to develop their practice. So that would be really through the film bursary, to make work of an experimental or non-narrative nature, for example the Film Project Award, or to make artist-led authored work, say through our Real Art and our Authored Works Awards. Then we also offer cross art form awards. So the other awards I just mentioned, the bursary, the project, Real Art, Authored Works, Eldana that we do at TG Cahir, our Film Artists in Residence with UCC, they're all focused on, they all come from within film. Whereas the Agility Award is a cross art form award that's offered across the Arts Council, and it's only open to artists who have not yet received Arts Council funding. So for anyone who is interested and works in the context of the Arts Council's role and remit in film, but has never applied for funding or has applied and hasn't received it, the Agility is the place to start. I think I mentioned just there, we also work in partnership with others, and that is to provide enhanced opportunities to artists. So we work with TG Cahir on Eldana, which is for the making of arts documentaries in Irish that are for broadcast on TG Cahir, but also for theatrical exhibition. There's a theatrical window locked into that. And we'll talk a bit more about that later. And we also have a Film Artist in Residence programme with UCC. Artists are all supported. I think it's really important to remember that we support artists indirectly through our funding of the organisations that I mentioned at the top, because those organisations together form a national infrastructure for film culture. So we fund the Irish Film Institute in all its activities, Access Cinema in all its activities, strategic film festivals, that's the Dublin International Film Festival, the Cork International Film Festival, the Galway Film Fla, smaller film festivals throughout the country, Fastnet, Offline, Catalyst, art centres throughout the country, and we also support aemi directly through film to support film artists who are working within the context of the art of film as an art form rather than within the industry context of film, which of course goes back to Sweeney Ireland and all they do in that area. So these organisations, the organisations we fund, they provide exhibition platforms. It's where your work will get seen, and also creative development opportunities for artists. In terms of public engagement, we support the development of audiences for cultural cinema. That's where our concern is. It's about so that audiences throughout Ireland can get to see world and cultural cinema that they wouldn't get to see in their local commercial cinema complex. And we do this by funding, again, the Irish Film Institute, Access Cinema, film festivals and art centres, those art centres that offer a film programme that often comes through Access Cinema. So it is through these organisations that the public can access that diverse range of cinema I talked about, and that they have an opportunity to critically engage with film culture through the events and the discourse that those organisations allow. And we also work with the organisations we fund to provide support to film artists and to offer new opportunities for the exhibition of their work. So that's partnerships with DIF on real art, for example, with the IFI on authored works, and with aemi through the work it does. And we provide more opportunities for critical discourse on film and film culture. It's in these organisations that critical discourse on film culture in Ireland happens. So this is a screen that's probably going to be of interest to you. This is our awards. These are our awards for film artists in 2026. So you can see on the one side of the screen there are the film awards, the film bursary, the film project, real art, authored works, Eldana, the film artist in residence at UCC, and then there's arts grant funding, and then on the other side the Agility Award, which is cross art form. So it's competing in the context of other art forms. The film bursary I'll talk about first, because that's coming up shortly, and sometimes there can be a bit of confusion around the film bursary. The film bursary is for film artists whose practice is in the field of artistically authored, experimental, on non-narrative cinematic work. Now there's a really important word there, and that's cinematic, and the other important word there is practice. So the idea of it is to provide artists with the time and resources to think, research, reflect and engage with their practice. It is not a production award. So it's not a production award or a production development award. It's a practice award. And proposals should be those that enable an artist to develop or consolidate their practice, their idea and their ideas about in and around that practice. The award is within the range of 5,000 to 10,000. We used to offer more, but we're bringing it into, we introduced, and we'll come to it in a minute, a research and development strand to the project award. And because of that, and that's at 10,000, and because of that we're bringing this into line with it. And that's enabled us to introduce, by doing that, it enabled us to introduce the research and development strand. We do one round annually, and as I say, that is coming up in February, so it's 17:30 on Thursday the 12th of February. I would just think it's important to say a lot of the applications we get from artists for the Film Project Award can be for the research and development of projects. So they tend to be, or for the making of projects, and that's not what the award is about. It's not, as I say, it's not production. So your application, you need to be very careful in making an application that it's not for that. I mean, it's been described as, you know, bursary applications masquerade, or project applications masquerading as bursaries. That's not what we're looking for. So you'll find you'll put a lot of time into making your application, and it's either ineligible or it doesn't get shortlisted, depending on where it is. So really be careful about that, and if it is a research and development, look at the project award, which I'm getting to now. So the Film Project Award supports the making of high quality, creatively ambitious film work of an experimental nature. The work needs to be filmic, engage and challenge audiences, again be made for cinema in the first instance. It can have other lives after that, but it must be for cinema in the first instance. Be experimental in form or content, and or be non-narrative in its structure. And this is about the production strand of the award, really. So successfully completed projects qualify for exhibition support, and that's subject to another application after the work is made. So you need to convince us in terms of cinema and what you're doing. So it's not a given, but there's an opportunity there, and most people do who've successfully completed a film project award in the production strand do get that, but they do need to meet the requirements of that. And it's 10% of the value of the award. So it's to enable the work to get out to audiences. So, as I say, there are 2 strands to the Film Project Award. Strand 1, up to €10,000 for the research and development of project ideas. And when we talk about project ideas with this strand of the award, it can be for the strand 2 of the project, but it can also be for real art or authored works. But it needs to be within the context of the Arts Council. So real art, authored works, or strand 2 of the project. And ideas for projects developed under strand 1 are eligible to apply for strand 2 funding in a subsequent year, or to real art, authored works. But there is no guarantee, if you've got strand 1 for research and development, that you will get strand 2. You're entering another application process with another peer panel and all the rest. So just to say that, it's not a given, but the stronger your application is going into a project, going into a real art, going into an authored works, the more chance you have. So it's a really important strand from our point of view. Then strand 2 production, that's up to €90,000 to produce a work. So I'll move on to talk about real art. The purpose of real art is to provide artists with the creative and editorial freedom to make highly creative, imaginative and experimental documentaries on an artistic theme, and again for cinema exhibition. We'll be supporting 2 films in 2026. We do 1 round annually. The deadline is 17:30 on Thursday the 4th of June. The award is up to $135,000. That's the production budget, and again you can come back in for $15,000 in exhibition support on completion of the work and with the proposal around that. Films obviously must be made for the, it's important to say films must be made for the available budget, and you cannot bring other funding to it. And the reason for that, you can with the project award, but not with real art. What we're trying to do is protect the editorial and creative freedom of the artist with these awards. So that's why that's there. And the film must be completed to premiere at DIF in 2028. DIF are our exhibition partner on this scheme, and we've been running it since the late noughties, and a very substantial body of work has been made under this scheme and is available to see on the IFI player, and I'd recommend anyone thinking of applying for it should look to that and become familiar with the work. So as I say, examples are available to view on IFI at home. A new real art film, Every Moon is Atrocious, rather than Inatrocious. Every Moon is Atrocious by Yvonne McDevitt will premiere at DIF in February 2026. Authored works, again, it's about providing film artists creative and editorial freedom, and in this case to make feature-length, artistically authored work in film. We support 1 film in 2026. The deadline, 17:30, Thursday 10th of September. A fund of up to $247,500, 230 of that is production, and then up to 17.5 for exhibition. Again, it's like real art, films must be made for the available budget, you can't bring other funding to it, and must be completed by the end of 28. Examples of artists who've received funding on this strand are Tygo Sullivan for The Swallow, Padraig Trehi for Stupid August, which premiered at the last Cork International Film Festival, and Claire Dix, for example, is currently making one, as is Jessie Jones. A really important point in terms of real art and authored works, you can only apply for 1 in 1 calendar year. So either apply for real art or authored works. You can't apply for both, because if you wouldn't be able to do both at the same time if you got them. So you must apply for 1. The deadline up in recent years has been on the same date. We've moved the deadline, we've separated them out, but you can still only apply for one of them. If you make an application for two, say you applied for Real Art, if you made an application for Authored Works, it would be ineligible. So Eldana aims, this is the scheme we run with TG Cahir, and the idea of it is to enhance the TG Cahir schedule with an ambitious and cinematic long-form documentary on the arts in Irish. So it's about supporting a work that wouldn't ordinarily be supported by TG Cahir as part of its general commissioning. So it's jointly funded by the Arts Council and TG Cahir. It has a theatrical window before broadcast and a fund of $135,000 per project. So current films are recent films that have been supported under it are Brendan Canty's Gyaltra, which you may be aware won the Audience Award at the Cork Film Festival recently. Paddy Hayes, David Keenan, Foclar Hamas, which went on release recently. Then Red Pepper Productions, A Glory Kai Brazil, Eo Killian's Comer, A Galway Rhapsody, Paula Keogh's Hiroshima Memorial, and Kieran McCormick's Aisling Three-Nail, the image of which is there. We offer a film artist in residence programme at UCC, and the aim of this is to develop film practice, to support an artist to develop their film practice in a university environment. The appointment is for 1 year, and the successful applicant is paid a fee of €30,000. So it's really what it is a super bursary. The applicant, it's for a film artist of distinction, so you must be experienced. There's a requirement to provide classes at master's level a number of hours a week in one semester, but the rest of the time is your own. I think it's 4 to 5 hours a week, 4 or 5 hours a week, something like that, over the first semester, and then, as I say, the rest of the time is your own. Brendan Canty is the current recipient. Town Hall was the recipient in 2025, and those other artists also received the award in recent years, or since its establishment actually. Arts grant funding, this is a grants programme we offer. It's open to it. All the other awards I spoke about are open to individual artists. This is open to both individuals and organisations, and the idea of it is to support more than one distinct arts activity and to provide supports and facilities to artists over a fixed period of time. The focus of it is to deliver outcomes that develop the arts in Ireland, either through generating high quality experiences for the public, providing services and resources or facilities to support artists, or contributing in a particular way to the ecology of the arts. So to be honest, in film, as opposed to, let's say, theatre or other areas, in film, it tends to be organisations. It's just different ecologies and different art forms, different grants support them. And in film, obviously, we're very aware of the wider film ecology and the role of Screen Ireland. So, to be honest, in film, only one organisation has been supported through this over the years, and that has been aemi, who's currently supported through it. And that's because of the services and resources they provide to film artists. So I'll move on from that. Then the Agility Award. So this is an open and flexible award, I suppose, and it's designed around the needs of professional artists and arts workers. In 26, it is only open to applicants who have not yet been in receipt of funding from the Arts Council. And priority in the award is given to applications that demonstrate how the artist or arts worker's practice would benefit from taking time to develop their practice and or artistic ideas. So it's important though here in film, as opposed again to other areas, applications must fit within the context of the Arts Council's role and remit in film. So because we are only concerned with supporting film artists, it's a Film Artist Award in the area of film. And you can apply for between 1,500 and 5,000 in that. We don't have it'll be a Thursday at 17:30, but we don't have a deadline for it yet. All applications that are directly to the Arts Council are at 5:30 on a Thursday on whatever date. Eldana is different because applications go to TG Carr, so be very conscious of that. I wanted to say something about archiving because we fund the Irish Film Archive at the IFI to acquire and preserve Ireland's film heritage and provide access to it now and into the future. So to ensure that films made with the Arts Council support are preserved and made available to the public, we require recipients of film production. I'm not talking about any other area of the Arts Council, I'm talking about film, so not visual arts. We require recipients of film production to make copies of their films available for deposit at the Irish Film Archive. There's no point us filming the archive at one hand and then funding film on the other and them not being deposited at the archive. So we do require that. And that involves providing DCPs that comply with digital cinema system specification. So you have to supply one original version of your film, but you also have to supply 2 version files, one for hard of hearing, which is subtitles, and one for audio description. So and that includes films without dialogue. Sometimes we get questions, oh, my film doesn't have dialogue, so therefore I don't have to provide a DCP but you do, because you need to provide the audio description. And that's all about accessibility, and it's in line with our EDI policy, which I'll come to as well. So the cost of providing those copies needs to be considered in your application, or you'll have to make budgetary adjustment to cover it. So just to say that at the outset. It is, again, different to other areas, but anyone working in film will be used to having to do that, because if you're working, for making work for another film agency or a broadcaster, that would be, archiving is a requirement. Upcoming deadlines for artists, you can see them there. I think we've given this already, have we? Did we show this? Yeah, all at 5:30, with the exception of Eldana down below, which is Friday the 6th of March, and that's at 1700, I think. But that hasn't been advertised yet, but there will be word going out on that next week on the Eldana, and the film artist in residence will be September. And again, the agility we don't know, but the other ones we do. So the application process, just to say something about that, and particularly for people who haven't applied to the Arts Council before, it's an online application process, which you might be aware of from reports in the press. So if you are a new applicant, it can take up to 5 working days to receive login details. So you need to allow time. If a deadline is, the 1st of May, you need to be thinking about this weeks in advance of the 1st of May, and to get your login details and to make your application ahead of the deadline. So what you need to do in making an application to film, you need to ensure you're familiar with the Arts Council's role in film and its film policy, to know if your practice fits within that. Because if it doesn't, you're wasting your time. If your work is for mainstream, if you've only ever worked in mainstream television, or you're probably not going to fit, unless you've gone out and made other work that's experimental or non-narrative. So make sure you're familiar with that. That would be the thing I'd say at the very beginning. And remembering that we're concerned with cinema. In film, we're concerned with cinema. We're not concerned with gallery, because that falls within visual arts. So if you're a film artist, making work for cinema, you come to film. If you are a visual artist making moving image work for gallery, it's visual arts. You apply to them and you go to their clinic and you follow their requirements. It doesn't mean you're not eligible, it's just what corridor you go down within the Arts Council. So get to know and see, I can't recommend this more highly, get to know and see the type of work we support. And that's via the IFI, it's via festivals, it's the IFI at home, the player, get to see and know. We publish all the details of the work we support. Read the guidelines and read them again. Everything's in the guidelines. You have to meet the guidelines. Take note in particular of the mandatory supporting materials. The word mandatory there is key. If we don't have the mandatory supports, we can't assess them. They don't even get to us. They get knocked out of the system before they get to us. Section 1.3 of the applicant, of the guidelines, who is the applicant? It's the film artist. It's not a producer. The Arts Council is about supporting film artists. Producers in film, they will go to Screen Ireland, but we are about supporting artists to make work. So that's a really important. You can work with a producer to help you do your work, but the applicant must be the film artist, either individually through their own production company where they are in control, but it must be them. I strongly recommend you to make your application the best it can be. You've got one opportunity with the Arts Council. Because we get so many applications, we can't keep seeing the same application or year after year or work with you in developing that application. We're not in a position to do that. So you get one bite of the cherry with us. So you need to make your application the best it can be, and if that means waiting for the next round, if it's not quite ready to go, I'd wait for the next round in the next year or whatever, because it is very competitive. I'd also say to make your application clear and in plain English, so we know. The whole point of the application is to communicate your ideas to the people who'll be reading it, to the assessors and the peer panel. That's the job of the application. Again, please don't leave it to the last minute to upload everything. At the very least, 48 hours before the deadline is recommended. Andy, who works on the film team, worked on reception previously, and he'll be able to tell you in detail how many people leave it to the last minute and it doesn't have a good outcome. If you have any queries, we are there to answer them. By phone or email, and the best way of getting in touch is by film@artscouncil.ie, and Andy will provide you with the information you're looking for there. Always, always, always request feedback on your application, and I mean that even if you're successful or not. Your application will have gone through a rigorous assessment process, and there is a learning in that. Often people who are successful think, there's no need to get the feedback, but I really think there's a value in it. And some people will just get, they might just get through and there'll be a really strong learning for the next time, because in another round they might not have done. So it's really important to do that. And also, it's really worth signing up to the Arts Council newsletter and our social media platforms, so you get notice of upcoming awards and opportunities. Okay. Access. We provide what's described as reasonable accommodation for people with disabilities or with access requirements who have difficulties accessing online services. But the way to get that support is to contact the Arts Council's access officer by phone or by email, and to do that as far as possible in advance of the deadline. We also provide access costs for artists with disabilities to make work. So this provides for additional costs that are specifically related to the making of the work. It involves uploading a document listing what the additional costs are for, and that then goes to the access team. We don't access that part of your application, so it goes to them for consideration and decision. And it's important to know the Arts Council treats any data related to disabilities confidentially and securely. But our access officer, if you need any more information around that, it's the access team and the Arts Council's access officer to go to. Was there something else I wanted to say there? Yeah, no, I think that's it, probably. And we'll take any questions you might have. Or not?
Well, I mean, I might kick off just to get everybody settled.
Absolutely, let's go back to that.
I was going to ask about a couple of things.
Yeah.
The Agility Award, first time applicants only, still. So I just wanted to get clarity on that. So the Agility Award, for people considering that is a once-off funding, right? You can only get it once, and you have to, so you wouldn't have received any other Arts Council funding.
No, and that means
in any form.
In any other art form as well. So if you were a theatre practitioner who got an agility 5 years ago and has since moved into film, it means you got Arts Council funding. So you can't get it again. Yeah. It's about supporting, the whole purpose of that is to support people who are new to the Arts Council. And give them an opportunity to get used to making applications.
One question there.
Hi, I just wanted to ask you to expand on what you said at the very end about making your application the best, just because you always get one bite of the cherry.
Yeah.
It sounded just a little bit spooky.
Oh no.
Shop and you're out.
With that, sorry, I didn't make that clear. With that proposal.
Okay.
So that's why. So you can obviously come back any number of times yourself, but with that proposal, unless in a rare situation we would say, or the panel would advise us to say, that's not quite there, or we didn't have enough funding for that, we'd love to see it come back. That happens occasionally, but it's very rare.
Yeah. But certainly lots of people are not successful with the first time they try to access funding to the Arts Council, and it sometimes takes a go or two. So it's not like you're booted.
No, it's not at all. And we'd encourage you, and that feedback. That's why that feedback is important.
And
that you
can
get
I
feedback.
Just circle back to the agility again. Obviously, it's designed for first-time applicants, but would you advise artists who are considering, they've never applied or been successful with funding through film at the Arts Council before, and they're considering a real art or an authored works? No. What would you advise? Would you advise them to do that, or to start off first with?
I wouldn't advise somebody who is not being supported by the Arts Council to go for a real art or authored works.
So it's best to.
It happens.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
And I can think of instances absolutely where it's happened. But if you're asking me to give general advice, it would be to start with something else, either an agility or even a small project award, because you're going to need to demonstrate your work in the area. And if you haven't done work in the area, it's going to be very hard to do that. That's, exceptionally it has happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can see somebody in the room. I think, Cara. But you had a lot of experience in other areas, and had worked on real arts as an editor and stuff, so it was exceptional. Yeah.
Sorry, there's too many questions.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Just at the back there. Yeah.
Hi.
Sorry. Yeah. I was just wondering about the two strands of the film project award.
Yeah.
So the first strand is about research and development, from my understanding.
Yeah.
Which goes towards, say, if you want to do a bigger project through authored works or real arts, or the film project. My understanding for the bigger funds, generally you might want to bring a visual reference, like a trailer or teaser or something along.
Never a trailer.
I don't know, whatever way you want.
Oh yeah, but we do say now, like we actually do say not a trailer. You know what I mean?
What does a trailer mean to you?
What we want is excerpts of your own work.
excerpts of your own work,
Yeah.
so nothing,
to inform
nothing
your
visual
proposal.
related to
you can do absolutely provide that, but we do need excerpts of your practice to date.
I suppose
Yeah.
maybe the distinction you're getting at is, trailers are generally made from a finished work.
Yeah,
So it could be something that is suggestive of what the work will be,
yeah,
just to clarify, and that I think can be useful, but just a trailer usually implies it's a work
Okay,
that's
sorry,
been
the wrong
completed.
word. I
Yeah.
used the wrong word. What I mean is some visual material, say,
Yeah.
relating to the project
Yeah.
you're pitching. And I know that probably comes in very handy if you're doing an interview stage or whatever. Does the research and development strand of the Film Project Award cover the cost of shooting material relating to that project that you might be doing?
not the shooting of the work. It could do tests and stuff, but
yeah, tests and stuff that you might use, or even editing something for potential, because all these things cost a lot of money. Like, it's a lot of work putting in.
yeah, as long as you need to convince us it's research and development and it's not production in strand one, if I put it like that.
Research and development.
Yeah,
rather
of
than-
a future.
That's sort of where the grey area is for me.
I don't think so.
No, I'm just wondering
Yeah,
for me. I just want to get my head around.
Yeah, no, and research and development will be the testing of stuff and all the rest. So yes, but if it's coming across more as a like mini production, no, you know. So
And would editing be could you?
a little bit, but like, it's not about making a film. It's about
Oh, I
researching and
completely understand
developing.
that.
No, that's why I'm saying it's that. If it's so you wouldn't expect to have huge costs in those areas for the research and development strand, but some, yes.
Okay.
But you need to convince us it's research and development and you're not making a short film with €10,000 in that strand.
Like, would it be about like identifying good locations for shooting?
It could be, yeah.
Or like, you know, just building a relationship with people you might be filming or collaborating with, you know.
Going to archives, researching, yeah,
Yeah.
it can be, yeah. I don't want to say what it will be because it can be, I don't want to be directional, yeah.
Sure, but just
but,
to distinguish
yeah,
from the actual production of the
It,
film.
and you need to be, I would say you do need to be clear it's not a production. That's where a lot of people fell down the bursary because like they're coming in with, you know, production ideas and so research and development ideas under strand one.
The general fleshing out of the project.
Yeah,
So that
the
when
stuff you need to do to make an application, a strong application for another award.
Can I follow up just
Yeah.
a bit before we take more questions?
Sure.
Because it's just relevant to that.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, and it's a quick question, but is it useful to be specific with the development funding to say, if you're like, this is for Waterworks or this is for the arts, is it useful to have that specificity?
Yeah, just not to overdevelop
Sure.
it, but for somebody to say, absolutely, to say, I see this as being a real art. You know, it's about exploring this area of arts practice or whatever, and I need to do research in a particular area to fulfill my concepts around it and make a strong application to real art next year or something like that.
Okay. I'm just going to go here. Yeah.
So I suppose my situation, what I'm curious about is that I'd be considered like an image artist effectively.
So you'd be considered what?
A moving image artist effectively.
Yeah.
People only really show screen work in context or but I wouldn't really be a visual artist either. I come from more of a media art background.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's a different jargon necessarily that I'm not really interested to get into. So I suppose I'm curious, what would constitute being a film artist rather than a gallery-based artist? Would it be
Making work for cinema.
Would it be those same works shown at film festivals? Would that qualify?
Yeah.
constitute-
Yeah, and as long as the work you're coming in for is going to go to cinema in the first instance, and you need to kind of show us where you see it and convince us that that's the right fit for it. But generally speaking, like I would say to people whose practice is moving image and it's for galleries, there's the visual arts strand of the Arts Council. You know, there's a visual arts, there's a visual arts within the Arts Council that there's a lot more funding than we have. And but there's visual arts, but there's also MDA if your practice, as you say, is more, we've introduced multidisciplinary arts in recent years, and some practices will fit better into that that area as well. So it just depends. Look at the guidelines and see where you most fit. Coming to us, you have to be able to convince us your practice fits within the context of what we support in film. Yeah.
And so that's output-centric to some degree. Like, the way I'm understanding it from my situation, like, it's contingent on output. It's effectively like the destination of the
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
And the
exactly.
audience experience.
Yeah, like it's
That it's for a group of people to watch them
communally.
together, to join, you know, that it's not on a loop, it's not ambient,
Yeah, and it's cinematic, like, you know, that it looks good.
Just, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Similar question, I guess. in
Sure.
Practice fitting within your aspect.
Yeah,
A lot of my practice previously has been in narrative
yeah,
film for cinema and festivals, but I'm kind of looking to sort of go on a more experimental.
sure.
Also for cinema film, and taking tangent steps to do it. Are you better off only mentioning essentially that one project that I've done, or is it all right to kind of be like, look, I have a number of
Mention all, yeah, because that's all feeding your practice. And like a lot of people working in film will wear different hats in film, and we're very aware of that. So some people, some artists will, or let's say some people will work in conventional work and be supported by Screen Ireland, but then come to us when they want to do more experimental work. And I can think of someone like Pat Collins or Tygo Sullivan in that regard, or Cara again. Sorry to pick on you, but you know, that's. But when you're coming to us, it needs to be with the experimental piece that only we will be likely to support and that it fits within. But absolutely, show us your capacity in other areas, but definitely show us your experimental work, because you need, or you know, the work that relates to us, because that's what we'd be particularly needing to see, because you have to demonstrate that practice to us. But the other work does support that. So don't leave it out, but show us the ones. When we say to people about providing material support their application, it's material, you know, that informs their proposal. So bear that in mind. It's, you know, it's about the work you want to do. So the previous work you've done that informs that. I think those two questions really kind of have been helpful. There's a spectrum of work in film, and on the one hand there's conventional, and on the other hand is moving image, that's for gallery, and we're kind of in a middle space there on that spectrum, where we are kind of, you know, where artists work for cinema, film artists for cinema.
Just at the back.
Sorry, yeah, you're the one taking the
Thanks. You were talking about the film bursary and make sure it's not like a project development masquerade. Does that apply equally to things like the agility as well, or is that more?
Agility is broader. Yeah, agility is broader. Can be anything.
A specific project that you're looking to develop. Or
It can be. Yeah. I think. Again, it's very competitive. Even though it is, you know, for new entrants and stuff, it's still, and you do have to demonstrate like that your work fits within the Arts Council's context in film. Otherwise, you could be going somewhere else. You could be going to one of the, you know, Ardon in Galway or somewhere to get support to make something, or to other places. You know what I mean? It has to fit within that Arts Council context to, you know, to be supportable.
There was one. Yeah.
So I have a question. You know, the development funding, can that be used to develop idea for documentary, for future documentary? Would that be?
It has to be for the project award.
Development.
Yeah, but it has to be that would fit within an Arts Council, a documentary that would work within an Arts Council context, not a documentary for RTE or a documentary for TG Cahill. That's because that's an Arts Council. You could.
Feature, but I still need to do more research. I could apply for that development funding, and then when I'm ready with my application.
You could. Because it's and you need, as you said, to indicate that that's where you see it fitting,
Yeah.
because it has to be about fitting within that Arts Council context.
Can I just follow up?
Sure.
With a question? How much experience do we need to have to qualify? Say, do I need to have a bunch of documentaries, or just if I have a brilliant idea and I have my research and everything?
You'll need to have some experience making documentary, yeah, to be able to show you know, that's why, but that's not saying you need to have 10. You could be an artist who's really like out there and able, you know, made a great first time documentary and in this area and be able to show it. Or you could be somebody who's building a practice over many years, or somebody who's moved out of one area of film and then is spending time developing an area of practice in, you know, that fits here. So there isn't, I can't give you a single answer to that. We're very broad, but you do need to be able to demonstrate practice.
Would you accept a short documentary, or needs to be like a feature to prove?
We'll accept
If I
anything.
want to do a feature.
You absolutely, as long as it's demonstrating your practice. And you'd have to, you know, if you were going from a short to a long form, it'll be up to you to convince us that the concept will sustain that and that you'll be able to deliver it. So that's part of the assessment. You need to, this is back to making your application as strong as it can be.
Yeah, and sorry, just one follow-up question. Is it a good idea so I have a short documentary, I did it like 3 years ago, but it's a great idea actually to feature. So is it a good idea to show you the short documentary?
Yeah,
And show you
yeah.
the proof that I actually can make a decent feature?
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
that be helpful?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
can be. Yeah, but
It might also be worth clarifying, I don't know, but like, I mean, Real Art isn't the only place for documentary.
no, Project Award's wide
Documentary
open.
form,
Yeah.
So certainly for like short experimental documentaries, Project Award is a really good
Absolutely.
output point for that. And there is like funding available to support documentaries at that stage. Real Arts is specific to feature length works, but the Project Award can support short experimental documentaries.
And I'm looking at behind you there, The Art of Loss by Conal Winters. That's a short within a short documentary funded by a Project Award. The others, I think, are more Eldana's Real Arts.
And just to speak to the what you were referring to around what people should demonstrate in their application, I guess, is a track record.
Yeah,
Especially if somebody is moving from
yeah,
working in other fields, it's really important for the Arts Council, is it, for them to see a track record of screening in cinemas, in film festivals. Is that right?
It depends on where you're applying. You know,
Yeah.
if it's Eldana, for example, not as much.
Okay.
If it's for a project or a Real Art or an Authored Works, more so. Yeah, but it's about demonstrating practice in this area. I keep going back to that, and it's up to the applicant to do that and convince us that they can deliver that. Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the bursary.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with across visual arts and theatre kind of activity that takes place in a bursary.
Yeah.
Is there any, and I know you don't want to be prescriptive, but is
Yeah.
there any kind of activity that is within film that takes place within a bursary that's not different?
I'm not going to talk about theatre or what was the other one, visual arts, because they are different and they're dealing with different environments.
Yeah.
What I will say is we are interested in it about developing the practice of the film artist outside of production. And that's over to you after that to convince us. And it is, you see, this is why Strand 1 of the Project Award is more suitable to film than the bursary. You know, because it is a difficult space. And this is, you know, I would be, if people are interested in production, Strand 1 of the project. You know, if you're about research and development, Strand 1 of the project.
So
And we're probably moving more funding to that than bursary as well.
Can mentorship be something that's...
Mentorship's part of a bursary, yeah. So it's learning and developing practice, consolidating
And
practice.
developing collaborations
Yeah.
with...
Yeah, but not in terms of it, not developing
Not in a
cover-
specific project.
yeah.
So the other thing I would just probably add to that, And like any of the awards is really familiarise yourself, if you can, with people who have been funded through it previously. And if you can, have conversations with any people who have applied for that successfully and have received funding, and generally people are open to having those sort of conversations. That sort of stuff will really help in just sort of like clarifying, is this for me? Am I well situated in my practice at the moment? Just having those conversations really about any of the awards, I think, is useful. So, and also it just helps you feel like you're part of a community of practice to have those conversations. Yeah. So I think that's really important. I know just at the back there, and then I'll move to you.
Sorry, couple of quick questions.
Sure.
I didn't quite catch about the documentary and whether the research and development strand of the film project award will fund a project that might go on Kildona.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other question was about with the bigger funds, so the Real Arts and say Open Works, and if you're applying for a bigger project on the project award, do you prioritise projects which bring in, say, a larger crew, or are you happy to fund projects which might be just one person filming directly and doing everything and doing solo, if that's the nature of their practice? Would you prioritise one or the other if there's a...
We'll be looking at the idea. We'll be looking at the idea. We assess under 3 areas. We assess the artistic, feasibility, and meeting the priorities of the award. And actually I should have had a slide on that. That's how we assess. And it's up to the applicant then to convince us they meet those 3 criteria. So we don't have rules around that. But is it feasible for one person to do all that? That would be the question. So if it's an authored works, it's not. If it's a real art, it's unlikely. You're going to have. We'd imagine you'd need more support to be able to deliver at that level.
Okay, and I suppose it's just a matter of proving that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's about you convincing us that it's feasible.
Okay, and then the last question, sorry, was about with the film. The Arts Grant Award. Yeah,
Arts Grant funding.
Yeah, is that something you're only really planning to fund one organisation?
No, it's not that we're planning. It's open, but it is. It has only been organisations that have been funded through that in film, not artists. That's why I didn't dwell on it here today, because it's in other areas, in other environments. There mightn't be, because the nature, let's say, of theatre and how theatre is made, it suits that, but less so film. Yeah.
So I guess the question, if they would say, if I was to start up a film festival with an educational outreach, then would it be worth?
But that's huge. Yeah, but that's, I'm not talking about, that's, yes, exactly. The festival award, our Festival Investment Scheme would support that. I haven't gone into those kind of things today because I've been very focused on artists making work. So the AGF award, as is, it doesn't really do that in film. It doesn't do that in film, and that's what today is about. Yeah. And we do have other awards if it's about developing capacity within the sector. AGF, as I said, and the things it does. If you're interested in setting up a film festival, there's a festival investment scheme for that. So, but as I say, I haven't gone into those today. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
I know you mentioned that to see some of these films that are funded by the Arts Council, IFI would be one place.
They're all in the archive.
Which archive?
The Irish Film.
The Irish Film.
Yeah, that's why we asked them to be deposited there, so they are available to people to access.
And you just access it.
But I would be I'd be encouraging you to look at, if it's real art, to look at the real art films that are on the player, and if you are and to look at the film festivals, to go to the film festivals. It's much better seeing films in context. So, go to the Dublin International Film Festival. We don't get involved in their programming. They're completely independent of us in their programming, but they are likely to programme films that the Arts Council has supported, because, as the Cork Film Festival did last year, as Galway Film Festival would have done as well. So those festivals programme work that's made by Irish film artists, and I would recommend that's where you see it. Yes, it's in the archive. We don't want everyone running to the archive, inundate them. But the work is there, but you see the kind of work. If you look at Arts Council website and annual reports, you see what we have supported. And
you can look on the Arts Council's website for who they've funded in the last few years.
Yeah.
So you can go right here, by art form, and then they'll give you a list of public information, so you can see the list and then go to their websites. Most
exactly
people have websites and ask them for links, as Daniel mentioned. Like, this is a community, and it can feel quite dispersed sometimes, but you're all working in a really interesting area, and don't be shy of making those connections. I think most filmmakers would love to hear from each other, so reach out.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Community, and engage with it as a community of practice.
Yeah.
Find ways to do that. There are lots of opportunities to do that, but like, familiarise yourself, just even the names of people who have been funded, get an idea of their practice.
Go see their work when you see it.
Work when it comes up.
Yeah.
And any opportunities you can get to just engage with that community will make all of this work not only easier, but also far more rewarding.
We're screening a film of Owen Heaney's that was funded by the Arts Council through film next Thursday at the IFI.
Oh, great.
22nd. So,
and what is that?
Parish.
A parish.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So, we'll regularly feature works that are done in any of our programs too.
Sorry, I should
actually try and highlight that as well in our notes.
Yeah.
We can make it really clear, because we show Irish and international work, but we can try and be really conscious here on out to say this was funded through.
Yeah, I think, and we are encouraging the organisations we fund to do just that, to kind of spotlight work that has been, so that it helps you find it and see it, engage with it.
We also have a spotlight on our website at the moment of the artist Juana Robles, who's been funded through the Arts Council through film. An experimental filmmaker. We're an interview with the filmmaker. One of her works is there. You can see lots of different excerpts from other works. So again, there's all these other opportunities for getting an idea of someone's overall practice, but engage with it as a community as best you can.
You see the work in context as well.
Mm-hmm.
To familiarise. It's not a kind of done in a day type thing. It's over time.
There was
If you've had some success with European film festivals, not so much with Irish film festivals, you're still
absolutely. That's it's a cinema context that your work will have been in.
It's smaller capacity film festivals.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we mean. So when we say cinema, often that is the context. It's a film festival context of whatever scale. We don't mean has been released in your local IMC, or you know what I mean. It's but that it's work that's made to be seen in a communal setting, as I said, on a big screen, and works. The work itself works on.
And that doesn't need to be Cannes.
No.
I
wish.
Any festival experience is good experience.
Absolutely.
And to try and go to those festivals as much as you can.
Definitely.
Get funding through Culture Ireland.
It was mental.
It's
crazy. No money.
And that's why we give exhibition support to the work that we do fund. It's to enable the work that we fund you to make, to get out to audiences in cinema, in festivals, in wherever. So that's what it's for.
I'd love if that was able to be communicated to more local arts grants, like say, I know you're not different completely, but say like county councils and people like that, who maybe sometimes fund film and then expect within that grant that the exhibition has to happen out of that grant as well.
Well, we can raise that. We have a relationship with local authority arts offices, and we can say that to them, so we'll bring that back. Absolutely.
That would be wonderful, because like say within a small grant of
I know how much you can do.
You know, trying to get that,
because there's a cost.
The cost of space now is so high. That would be brilliant.
And to go to people with aemi, show them your work, and they might be able to get it out there as or people need to know about your work, so get it to the right people as well, and they can help with that too.
Awesome.
Is there another?
Hi.
Hi.
So I got a little the award in 2020, and that whole process culminated into one experimental Gaelic language performance this film, and that has been shown in so far in 12 international festivals.
Brilliant.
So is that something evidence is helpful for this application?
Absolutely.
And how can it could be documented and presented?
So you got supported through film to make that work, or
Yeah. It was agility award.
An agility, through a film agility award. Yeah. Absolutely, that's exactly what you need to be providing a link to in your support materials. Let's say, you're going for a project award as your next, whatever it is you're going for, you absolutely need to tell us that and give an excerpt from that work to support your application. That's it. That's how it works.
Any other questions?
No?
Okay.
But I would encourage you, all, if you have any queries, we're there, the film team is there to answer them, and to contact us at any stage, and with any queries you might have, and we'll give you whatever support we can in terms of making applications. But good luck with it.
We'll also have more opportunities to discuss some of this material. We're just going to talk a little bit now briefly about what aemi does to support film artists, but there's also some specifics that all this material will be accessible through Amy's website. We have a section of the website devoted to funding deadlines and things like that, so that's all there. We also have a newsletter that goes out regularly which will contain all this information. So if you haven't signed up to that, you can do that through the website.
But for now, thank you so much.
No, it's been
Fionnuala.
great. I just want to say thank you all for coming. It's great to see so many new faces in the room. It's completely different to last year, the year before, so it's really great to see the extent of interest, and I hope we see you come in with applications and be successful. Thank you very much.
So Daniel and I are going to just use the last sort of, what have we got, about half an hour or so, just to talk a little bit about aemi, as Daniel was describing there, about what we do, how you can access and make use of the supports that we offer film artists. So we'll also try and leave plenty of time for questions as well. Just to give you a bit of background about who we are funded by the Arts Council through film. We were established in 2016, founded by myself and Daniel, and we're both a resource organisation and a programming organisation, and we work in partnership with a range of different organisations. With film festivals, we will have screenings and events with Dublin International Film Festival, Cork International Film Festival, Gaze, East Asia Film Festival, Ireland. So several festivals in Ireland, across the country, and with venues. So we regularly screen in partnership with the Irish Film Institute, and all of this is to try and build and develop audiences for the work that you're making. We also, as a resource organisation, offer a range of supports to film artists. The primary way that we do that is through individual artist support sessions, and these are meetings, essentially, an hour-long conversation with either myself or Daniel. This takes place in person or over Zoom, and there is no barrier to taking part in one of these. Just get in touch with us at our email address, info@aemi.ie. What we typically ask is if you can share an example of a film that you've made. We can't watch loads of material just because of time constraints, but just to get a sense of your practice. So you can share an existing work or something that's at rough cut stage, and also if you can indicate, what is it that you're coming to talk to us about, and we can help kind of guide you in terms of funding in the ways that we've already been talking about today, and talk about film festivals that are really receptive to the kind of work you're making, and how to sort of support and develop and sustain your practice. And as Daniel mentioned as well, we have a regular newsletter. If you subscribe to that, that's where we highlight what we're doing and upcoming opportunities, deadlines. We also offer workshops and masterclasses and information sessions like the one this morning. Those are our kind of the key ways that we are supporting artists. We have a tiered artist support program, which we'll describe in a little bit more detail. And then the other way that we support artists is through programming. We tour screenings and we stage these events. And as we've already kind of talked about, that's about sort of solidifying and enhancing the sense of community that we really feel is integral to this practice, so that you can meet each other and see what each of you are making and feed off of that and hear from each other. And it just is an entirely generative process, hopefully. And typically our screenings are always, we always have introductions from either the filmmakers or the curators, more typically the filmmakers, a Q&A afterwards. So it's just a really brilliant way to kind of get a sense of how people are making this work.
Yeah, so Alice has probably covered a lot of this already, but there's a number of different supports we offer to filmmakers. So if you haven't been in touch with us, check out our website, see what we do, come to an aemi event. Alice talked about the one-on-one artist support sessions. The only thing I'd add to that is there can be a slight backlog in terms of accessing those sessions, especially after an information session like this. Demand seems to increase fairly significantly. So look, don't worry if it takes a little while to get to that. If it's specific to a funding application and you want to do an artist support session around a funding application, do give us plenty of advance notice on that. If you are thinking about a project award and say, okay, it'd be useful to talk to aemi, don't do that even 2 weeks before. It'll be very unlikely that we'll be able to get to you, unfortunately. We can't really act like that where we can just suddenly push you up the top of a list. And so those kinds of times do tend to be, there tends to be a lot of demand, and we can't just prioritize people based on urgency. So we're just trying to be as democratic about this as we can. So if you do have something like that, we're delighted to talk about those specifics and strategize around those specifics, but just make sure you've given us plenty of time to have that conversation. And then we talked about practice-led information sessions and clinics for film artists, like what we're doing today, but we also do have a specific, very informal film bursary strategy session that we'll do over Zoom. And that information will go up on our website in the next day or two. Sign up to the newsletter, you'll get that. That will just be an opportunity if you are planning to apply for the bursary, just to, an informal place on Zoom, just to talk about any concerns you might have about that, how you're approaching it, blah, blah, blah. So that'll be a short lunchtime session, and the information about that will be up on our website in the next day or two. So we also do a lot of filmmaker-led masterclasses. Sometimes they're incorporated into festivals that we work with, sometimes they're standalone. And we do these rough cut development workshops, which is something that we do now with our Developing Your Practice as a Film Artist, which is a year-long program that film artists apply for. And we currently have 9 people on that program. We did a previous iteration of that program that ran the year before. Some of those people are here today. And that's just a group of artists that we'll provide advice, strategy, mentorship. We'll give them opportunities to hear from filmmakers, and they'll also have the additional peer support of just being in a group with other filmmakers. So that's really important work that we do. The applications for that open once a year, and it's something we're considering. It's a small group. We usually get a lot of applications for that. I would not be discouraged if you don't get into that. It just can be very competitive, and it also can be about us identifying, is this exactly the right time for this artist to do this program? So it mightn't even be about your practice. It just might be maybe there would be a better time for this person to be applying. So it can be as simple as that. The newsletter and funding information, that's if you haven't signed up for that, we try to keep those newsletters short. They're just a great way to just stay on top of things that are coming up, festival deadlines, funding deadlines, but also just things that are happening around the city in terms of exhibitions, screenings, festivals, whatever. So it's a way to just engage with the area as a whole. So beyond that, if you're encountering aemi for the first time, sign up to the newsletter. And then if you feel it would be relevant and helpful, sign up for an art support session. Again, as Alison mentioned, there's no barrier to entry there. It doesn't matter if you're in full-time education, that's fine, whatever it is, just if you want to have a conversation with us, we'd be more than happy to have that conversation. That tends to be, we tend to sort of, it's hard for us to repeat those sessions, so we do prioritize people who have not spoken to us before in relation to that. So get in touch, we'd love to hear from you. I think that's...
The only last thing on that is, obviously the newsletter we cite upcoming deadlines and opportunities, but we, as Daniel said, we try not to inundate people in the newsletter. So if on an ongoing basis you wanted to see what film festival deadlines are coming up right now, on our website, if you go into the artist support section, there's another heading that says upcoming opportunities, deadlines. If you click into that, that's regularly updated with all kinds of film festival deadlines, both in Ireland and further afield. Just that's something that we have, just anecdotally, there's been filmmakers we've worked with have checked that page, submitted their film to a festival in the States, got Culture Ireland funding, went over, and they've really been able to kind of speed up where their practice was going. So it's really useful. So just to give you a sense of how we're platforming the film artists that film artists like you who are funded by the Arts Council through film. As I mentioned, we work with regularly with Irish festivals like Cork and Docs Ireland, and Galway and Diff, and we also have this regular set of screenings at the IFI, and part of that artist film program as well includes what Daniel mentioned earlier, which is an online showcase where we really try and look deeply into the practice of an individual film artist. And at the moment we've just launched Juana Robles's a new film from her, and discussion of her wider practice and key works. So that's exactly the kind of thing that if you're trying to familiarise yourself with the work that's being funded by the Arts Council through film, that's a really helpful reference point. And the other kind of key exhibition activity is our touring programme. We've been doing touring programmes since 2019, I think. And this is a programme that we put together on an annual basis. It brings together key voices from Irish artist film and experimental film practice. We bring those into dialogue with international filmmakers, and then we tour that programme across the country and to venues internationally. And as I mentioned, Owen Heaney, who's been funded through the Arts Council, is featured in our new programme, and that's premiering at the IFI next Thursday if any of you can make it. But that's kind of a key way that we try and draw attention and build appreciation and kind of develop audiences for this material.
I'm just going to quickly talk about another sort of specific output we've been engaged with over the last year or so, where that we are kind of looking at in order to platform specifically artists that have been funded through the Film Project Award. So we've done this kind of long research project, which has been also supported by an internship program in NCAD. And it's been an extensive amount of research that kind of looks at the overall scope of what the Arts Council has funded specifically through the Film Project Award, which, as you can see, there's an example of a work there from 1975 and an example of work there from 2025. So over 50 years of film funding through the Film Project Award. And also, what we've done at this stage is try to create a database of all of the works that have been funded to date through the Film Project Award, which is quite a vast database, but also gives us an indication of the different eras of funding, and at a certain point at which, while the funding starts out relatively modest in terms of at least the amount of projects being funded, that scales up at a certain point in this history. And so we have a number of output points in mind for this research in terms of audiences. And so there'll be 3 public screenings that consider 3 different eras of practice within the Film Project Award, and those will be public screenings. The first of which will be at the Irish Film Institute later this year. And so we'll have 3 screenings in total, each looking at different eras of practice and drawing off this database that we've created that for the first time you can see all in one place all of the works that have been funded, and it is significant, and also as a way of us to interrogate what when we talk about film artists, how that has shifted over time, and what that role is in terms of film practice and creative practice. So it's been a really exciting research project, and we're really excited to have sort of public output points around that, and just also creating new ways in which, for people who are entering this field, that they can, easier ways that they can go, okay, who's been funded, what does this look like, to get just an overall feel for the history of this funding as a whole. So that's what we're trying to provide through this research and through these platforms as they develop over the next year or so. Yeah. So it's been an exciting project, and we're really excited to get some of that research out into the public and give you opportunities to see these programs.
Yeah, and hopefully, I think we started this off thinking that it'd be something we'd be able to accomplish in 12 or 18 months, but I actually think it'll be something that's really ongoing and that we'll be able to come back to again and again. So yeah, it's definitely something to keep checking in on. And lastly, we just wanted to really draw your attention to a toolkit that we launched in the first half of last year. This is available on our website right now, so after you leave, if you've got any lingering questions or things that you're trying to figure out, you can go to the toolkit, which is on our website. It's a PDF that you can easily download. It is a very hefty document because we're trying to cover what I hope is clear from today is a really nuanced and exciting and dynamic area of filmmaking practice. There's about, I think, 6 sections, and just something I would recommend that you do if you're feeling like, there's just a specific area that we want to look into in the toolkit, just click into that. So we can show you the just the headings that you can, once you're on our website, you can, so on our website you can literally just click into section 1 through 7. And we've tried to break down some of those key areas that we've covered to various degrees today. And what we've done, as well as writing this up ourselves, is we've consulted with film artists and filmmakers and asked them to speak to their experience of navigating this field. So yeah, we really recommend you spend time with this, come back to it again and again. It's not something, you know, you'll cover in an afternoon, but we tried to put something together where, you know, at any stage of developing a project or your practice, there'll be something in here that you can glean something useful from. So it's freely accessible to everyone. Please do check it out if there's anything you're struggling with. And as Daniel mentioned, we'd love to hear from you about an artist support session, but if there is a bit of a wait, which more than likely there would be, check the toolkit while you're waiting, and it might answer at least some of your initial questions.
Also, just to say with this document, this is a fluid document to some degree.
Yeah.
So we're always kind of adding in new resources and reconsidering it. So, like, if you're engaging with it and you have any feedback in relation to it, we'd also love to hear that. You know, that's always super helpful. But while it can seem like overwhelming, that document, again, it's very easy to be specific about what you need from that document. So don't feel like you have to engage with the whole thing. But do see, okay, this is really useful to my practice, especially if you're answering questions about, like, okay, where do I fit situating your practice? There's lots of information around that, but also around documenting your practice, narrativizing your practice, you know, how to get your work out there, and there's like film festival recommendations, so there's lots there to consider, and it's something that you can probably go to at various stages in your practice, and depending on where you're at with a specific project. There's also opportunities in there where you'll be able to hear from film artists talking about their own experiences, and so there's loads in there to work with, and yeah, we hope it's a useful document.
Yeah, feedback would be great. It's a good point. Yeah. So maybe if anyone has any questions for us or anything, I'm conscious we've been here for a while, but also feel free to get in touch afterwards as well.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing work and fantastic. I just wondering, you mentioned there's some screenings of those film project things. Have you lined them up already, or no?
We're not specifically, but all that information will be on our website and in our newsletter. So, amazing. Like
the first one is due to take place in April at the IFI. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Sounds really exciting.
Yeah. And I think we'll be creating opportunities to engage with filmmakers through that, and to just engage with the full historical scope of works that have been funded. It's exciting. Yeah, and also creating opportunities to hear from some of the, like, specifically the first screening will focus on an earlier period of funding, and just creating opportunities to hear from some of those filmmakers and to hear those experiences of making work at that time, and to revisit some amazing work in that early period. Yeah, so we're excited about it. I mean, it's going to be 3 screenings from a huge body of funded work, so it's never going to be in any way representative of the whole thing. But it's just one opportunity to engage with the scope, and hopefully, through even these 3 screenings, demonstrate the broad scope of works that have been funded through Arts Council, through the Film Project Award.
But I'd just add, as much as possible, just do make an effort in your overall practice to make going to screenings and events an integral part of what you do. It can be really easy, I know this from, you know, my work as well, to just get completely focused on what you're doing and forget there's a whole world of other people making work, and that excites your practice. That, you know, gives it energy and purpose and inspiration. So really do, as much as possible, make it a routine part of what you do. Okay, what's kind of coming up? Like DIF is coming up. They routinely show programs with films funded by the Arts Council. Check out our events and please come and say hello and tell us what you're working on. Like, that's why we enjoy what we're doing, is to actually have relationships, you know, where we are getting an insight into the work that's being made. So yeah, I mean, we do feel in general it's always the case where filmmakers who get really sort of sealed off and overly focused on just what they're doing, they end up not being the projects that, not all the time, but sometimes they don't speak to the here and now of the world we're living in and the other kinds of practice that's out there. So try and have a relationship with your work and the work that's out there as much as possible.
Yeah, generally, I mean, we don't see a functioning, sustainable practice being an isolated practice. We don't see examples of where that has been successful. It's where people can build a community of support. That's just as important as funding in terms of sustaining your practice, is building a community of support. So just make that an integral part of your strategy for your own practice. How do I do that? What could I be doing for that? And do it in a way that isn't just about being self-serving, but just about engaging with work and belonging to a community, and that's what will help sustain your practice as much as funding.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Abigail.
Thanks for this, it's great. I was just wondering if you have been making work maybe within a community context, or, and you really wanted to move into more experimental, would it be better to kind of execute that before you put to do a one-on-one session, or if you have lots of ideas,
No.
is it okay to come?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Talk to us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, don't wait. No. I mean, that's exactly this. That's exactly the sort of strategic conversation we can have, and we'd be happy to have, and we would hope it would be helpful. Yeah. Any other questions like that, or anything else?
What way does your tier support mentoring or?
So the first tier is just those artist support sessions and any of those things that we offer everyone and anyone. So those artist support sessions, anything on our website, including the toolkit, that list, regularly updated list of upcoming opportunities, and our newsletter. And then tier 2 is that program that Daniel was describing, where there's an open call in about April of each year where you can apply to work with us as part of a group of 9 film artists, and we'll meet you on a monthly basis. You will share a work in progress as part of one of our rough cut events, but you can check out the details of that program on our website. And as I say, it's an annual program, and usually the open call is in April. And there's a couple of people here who have done that program, who are in the middle of it. Like with everything else, if you don't get a chance to talk to them today, look at the names on our website, and if you want to ask them what's involved in more detail. But we also have information sessions ahead of that deadline online, where people can ask us any questions about what it comprises. But
generally, probably good to have met with us first if you're thinking of applying for that. Just it'll be better if we're familiar with your practice, and you'll have a sense of, is this a good fit? But it's not restricted to people who've met with us before. Sometimes there's just even timeline issues on that. But if you can, meet with us. Yeah, as I said, and we'd love to hear from you. Yeah. Anything else quickly, or we let you?
There's teas and coffees next door as well, so please feel free to.
And we'll be hanging around.
The
film team.
Yeah. And us too.
If anyone wants to come up to us, we're here, ask questions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks
so much.
for coming.